Jonas Knox, a host. I'm Bryan Fenley, who has the pleasure to work with him from time to time. You can hear Jonas on Straight Out of Vegas, 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific on the weekdays. And then he has a host of shows over the weekend, that overnight show, Friday, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Pacific, which is afternoon drive, I believe, Jonas, in Kazakhstan.
It is. That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
Saturdays with Bucky Brooks in the afternoon, Sunday evenings with Brady Quinn, a man who owns more V-neck T-shirts than any other piece of clothing in his wardrobe. Jonas, am I correct on that?
Yeah, I think V-necks would probably be – V-necks would be in the lead, although I'm wearing a tank top now because it's really, really hot out here. You know how this SoCal heat is.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of humidity to it and all that, and we don't really have AC, so to speak. I mean, we technically have air conditioner, but it doesn't really work. So that's a whole nother problem and a whole nother pay grade and another financial commitment that we've got to make to try and get that repaired. But as of right now, tank tops and just trying to keep cool because it's really hot out there.
It's very hot in Hawaii, and Jonas is a fervent supporter of the Rainbow Warriors. As you
Damn
can
right.
see from his hats. Many a time he has been to Hawaii, always repping them, and he is on Twitter.
How about this though?
Oh my!
How about this though? You like that?
Did you just get that?
There's no shame.
Oh.
Listen, it was on top of the one that said hubby, and so I just grabbed the wifey one.
So, do you have matching ones?
Yeah, but I prefer not to drink out of my cup while she's drinking out of hers.
Okay.
Because that whole it's like you're doing a double mint commercial. You remember those dumb double mint commercials and the twins were always together. Like I gotta have some originality. There's got to be some sweet and sour. I can't just go because she's drinking out of wifey and I'm drinking out of hubby. So, but since she's not here, fire away.
So you guys have been married, but sometimes you still call her your fiance. How is she taking that?
Okay, that was an accident. All right, it was an accident. And Rob Parker can kiss my ass. Okay, first of all, for pointing that out. Okay, that didn't need to be pointed out. That was an accident. Thank God she doesn't listen, because if she was listening, she's got a little bit of a temper. She's got that Latina, that Mexican blood, and sometimes they run a little hot, and you got to be careful, And I try and just keep everything cool and relaxed. But Rob Parker pointed that out, and because of it, she'll probably see this now and be very, very angry with me.
If she were to listen to you, what would she say about you? What would she think about you?
She came into the studio one time in the middle of a segment, and I was just doing like what I do, which is just be overly sarcastic, make people think that I'm being serious with some of the stuff that I'm saying.
Yeah.
And she came into and the first words out of my mouth are, and she can't hear anything because it's not like she doesn't have the headsets on.
Sure.
First thing out of my mouth was, "This song sucks." And she just put her head down and just started shaking her head. And so we do this segment or whatever, we get to break. I'm all, "What?" She goes, "God, you even do that on the air. Like you do it off the air, but you do it on the air too." And I said, "Oh, this song sucks." Because anytime she puts music on, no matter what it is, just to annoy her, I'll go, "Wow, this is a bad song. You don't like anything. You hate everything." It just, I don't know why I think it's funny. I just do. And people get really upset and offended by it. So I just, whatever. You got to do it. You got to press buttons.
Yeah, I love your humor. And because of your humor, I reached out to Twitter, and a lot of your fans dropped me some DMs, gave me some messages, wanting to ask you questions. Yeah, you have a tremendous, humongous fan club. And one guy who is a part of that club, Will Sanders, he checks in, and he wants to know straight up, and I'm certainly really curious to hear this from you as well. You've worked on the Ben Maller Show, filling in, and I've also done and filled in for Eddie from time to time. And I want to get the juicy backstory of what you really think about the Maller Militia.
Oh, they can dish it, but they can't take it. All right. And here's the thing. I love them. and I think it's hysterical. I never get offended on Twitter. It's a joke. I think Twitter is a giant professional wrestling organization, and everybody's got a role to play. So I never take offense to it. Nothing that anybody says, especially from the Maller Militia. They are dedicated. They are loyal to Ben, and they should be. He's fantastic. I was on that show. I was a producer on Ben's show years and years and years ago. Wow. So I know that fan base, and I know how they work and how they operate. So when a guy like Arnie Spanier swears off the entire show because and Arnie Spanier is one of the all-time greats. He maybe doesn't get credit for it, but he's one of the all-time greats. He's been doing radio, sports radio for so long, like a legend in the business if you're a longtime sports radio fan. And when Arnie Spanier, an all-time great, says, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to deal with them anymore. I just don't want to. Like, they scared him away. And I just said, you know what, man? They're not going to scare me away. I get how this works. I know the game. So instead of going in there timid and trying to be exactly like Ben and try and do that and placate to them, I just decided to be the opposite and create this feud. And any chance I get, I rip them. I don't really mean it, but it's just fun to do because it's fun to needle them a little bit. But they're loyal and they should be. Ben's fantastic. He also is one of the all-time greats. And I mean, you speak of this fan base I have no idea why I would have a fan base. I don't think that honest to God, and I swear to you on this, that makes me super uncomfortable. I don't like it. I swear to God, I don't like attention. I really, it's why I'm not really active on social media. I just, the older I get, the more private I like to be. And so the idea that there's a fan base attached makes me feel weird. Here's the other thing, and this really pisses me off. I don't know why this bothers me, because I think people especially on social media, think higher of themselves than they actually are.
Absolutely.
I'll see this crap, and it drives me insane that people do this. They'll be in an airport somewhere or something like that, and they'll just say, 20 minutes until I gotta go up for my flight. Fire away any question you want.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, F you, dude. Like what? Like, get over yourself. How about when did you become such a self-involved douchebag that you actually think that now that you've got a few minutes of your time, you'll address their questions and it's people I like that do this crap. Man, if you have a question, if you actually want my opinion or me to answer something, just ask it. I don't need a set window of time to get back to you. If I can get back to you, I will. If not, who cares? We're sports radio hosts, and I'll see people do this crap, and it bugs the F out of me. I'm thinking to myself, you got to stop. You need to take a step back and read what you just wrote, and then understand, wow, I'm a douchebag. That's kind of a douchey thing to say. If you're being sponsored by somebody and it's something like that, I get it. But this whole, I've got some time to kill, fire away, like, get out of my face, man. Just that I can't. So, but I had to go off a little bit there. Sorry about that.
No, I love it, Jonas. What I find fascinating is that you are the antithesis, the total opposite of a narcissist, but you are in a business where you see a lot of that kind of behavior where it's me, and you have this level of humility, and you couple that with that sarcastic, self-deprecating kind of humor that, whether you like it or not, a lot of people relate to and they really enjoy. And I wanted to get your take on this because you're not a hot take artist from what I recall. And from what, I've listened to you, and that's not necessarily your MO, but there are a lot of guys out there, radio hosts, that are. What percentage of radio hosts actually believe the takes that they prophesize? And what percentage actually are just doing it for show?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not a hot take artist, but when I do go hot take, I do it up in a way that I hope you can understand that I'm just being a smart ass. Like, when I'm doing it, like, like when I've said on the air before, God, I don't remember what it was. Oh gosh, it could be something as small as, like, when you're like this bothers, like I've got a little bit of road rage, and there are certain habits that bother me, and I'll just say, look, when you're at a stop sign, when you pull up to a four-way stop at the same time as somebody else, it's the idiot that goes like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I need your permission to go. Like, do you drive? Do you know how this works? And so I think I said on the air one time, I was like, Amal, this is what should happen. First time that happens, that person should get 10 days in jail. Second offense is the electric chair. Okay, that I don't really mean any of that, but that what I would consider a hot take. So I'll do it very sarcastically. I don't know if it's that they don't remember it, or is it, or that they believe it is that they don't remember it. You know what I mean? Like I'll hear somebody say something, and you can like go back 3 weeks and they said the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait, hold on, wait, what?
You know who?
Like, and that's
I was gonna say,
yeah,
a guy who does that, and his name rhymes with Snandy Schnerman.
Listen,
he does that.
Listen. Andy Furman, I'll tell you this right now. Andy Furman is one of my favorite human beings, not only in radio, but on the planet. I love that man. I would do anything for him. He's done a lot for me, and you'll never hear me say a bad thing about it. That's a guy who does not ever get credit for genuinely being a great human being, a great human being who goes out of his way for anybody and plays up this role on radio as well as and him and I talk about all the time. Going back to the pro wrestling thing, him and I talk about all the time. Like, this is all pro wrestling, man. Who cares if he gets something right? And part of the reason why I have a self-deprecating humor, or I don't have an ego at all, is because I don't think I should. I don't think there's any difference between me and somebody else. That's why I don't get the people who, hey, I got 20 minutes, ask me a question, or I'm going to do, like, I don't understand that. We all, I think everybody's equal. And the only difference between me and somebody that may be listening to a show that I'm a part of is they're just listening in their car at home, and I'm just in a studio. That's it. That's the way I look at it. And I never forget where I come from. I grew up from I come from humble beginnings. We didn't, it wasn't like we grew up wealthy or anything. We grew up poor. We had, a lot of financial issues and stuff like that, big family, and things were hard sometimes. And there's been a lot of stuff that have been really hard. And so I take all of that with me wherever I go. And I don't leave that part of my life behind and say, well, now I'm hosting 1:30 in the morning in Toledo on a national radio station, and somebody driving on the highways delivering a package somewhere, they're listening to me, so I'm going to forget about where. No, that's part of you. That's what you bring on the air, and that perspective that you bring. So it's why I can't fake it, and I'm just going to be 100% honest. And I think there's a lot of great people and talented people. We are so lucky to get to do what we do, and I think too many people take that for granted, because I know what it's like to be laid off in radio. I know how that felt. It's why I never talk about coaches should be fired, anybody should lose their job on the air, because I know how I felt. And I was devastated, legitimately devastated, depressed, thought everything that I had worked for had just evaporated because the station had cutbacks. And so I always have a soft spot, and I'm always really scarred. I'm scarred by it. And borderline scared of it happening again. So I'm always very careful when it comes to a subject like that. And I think there's a lot of people that also feel that, especially right now. And that's why I try and come off as, hey, I'm just like you. Like, I'm not anything special. I'm not here and you're there. If you have a question, ask me a question. If you listen to the show, I'm grateful. Like, you're making my day. I'm not making your day. I'm just talking into a microphone. I appreciate it. I just try and express that as the best I can.
Jonas Knox on Twitter at the Jonas Knox. I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. I always catch you during at least a portion of your show, always saying how grateful you are for a couple minutes of your time. That's a staple line.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you really are appreciative of those who give a bit of their time to check out what you're doing. And what I've also noticed, Jonas, is that while you haven't done that or done this, a lot of people do, where, like you said, they forget their roots. They've gotten to this position where they don't realize, you know, the struggles that it took, or they lose sight of that, and then they become so transfixed in their position, and they feel like this extra sense of power and extra sense of self. But you've always stayed authentic through this whole process, and you don't talk down to your listeners as well. And that's part of where you're saying, like, you are on the same level as them. And I think that's what garners them even more respect for you. We had one of many of your supporters also check in and wanted to ask you, and I know you've been very transparent about this on your show. John Strad 2 is on Twitter, and he tweeted at me. He wants to know more about your time as the rat at Chucky Cheese.
Yeah.
And what's the part you miss most about that?
Well, I don't miss a damn thing about it. It was miserable. It's a miserable job. It's terrible. I've had so many, because I never got an allowance growing up. So we always had jobs. So, look, I was working at Fox Sports Radio, and, you know, I would have to go recycle cans, you know, because I needed extra money. Like I was, you know, I did all that stuff. So that's why, that's also part of the reason why I never forget where I came from. Because I know what that other life is like. And I think a lot of people don't, or they've forgotten about it, or they choose not to acknowledge it.
For sure.
But I was in high school and I needed a job. And so we went to Chucky Cheese. It was sort of you had to do everything, but I ended up getting pigeonholed into having to be the goddamn rat for like a month and a half. And they had these big glass windows. So it was really, really hot. Especially, it was starting to heat up. It was towards the springtime and it was starting to get warmer. So the sun would beat in there. Oh. So you'd get into this giant rat costume that somebody had wore. They didn't disinfect it. I mean, man, if COVID was around back then, for God's sakes, who the hell knows what would happen? But so I get into this rat costume, and you're walking around. You got this big smiley face, but you're sweating your balls off. You can't, you can't curse. You can't really talk. You're not allowed to speak at all. And I don't know how much. I mean, I had a kid one time take about a 10-foot head start and hit me as hard as he could, square in the balls. I mean, square in the balls. And I'm doubled over. Like, I can't even breathe. And I walk over to my buddy who's working the ticket machine. Okay. And it was my buddy Alan. And I come over to him, and he like leans down. He goes, "The hell's your problem?" I'm like, "That kid over there just hit me as hard as he could in the balls. Okay, I'm done with this. I can't deal with this abuse. This is ridiculous." He's laughing so hard because but he doesn't want them to know that I'm talking. So yeah, I just was like, I was so frustrated by it, but I did it for nonstop for like a month and a half. But the problem was, when we would go to do those dances up on the blue screen, we get on the stage, and the way that it works is that would show up all over the restaurant. So all the TVs would have, for the birthday parties, Chucky and whoever the hell the crew members, whatever they called them, dancing. And so I would get all into it because I was trying to make him laugh. So my whole goal was to make my friend laugh. And so I was doing the Jamal Anderson Dirty Bird, all sorts of stuff. And it was just to make him laugh. Well, my boss came over to me and he said, "Hey, I got to talk to you," after I got out of the costume. Because you get into the costume, you do the whole thing, then you get out, and then you go clean. Like, that was sort of the rotation back then. And I said, "What's up?" He goes, "The hip gyrations." Okay, this is a little kid's restaurant. I was like, "Oh, I'm not meaning it." He's, "Oh, no, I know. It just, we got to be careful. Just do some standard waving and going back and forth." He's all, "We think it's hilarious." He's all, "We think it's awesome. But, you just got to be careful." I was like, "Okay, yeah, no problem." So, like, I want to say a month later, it was a Friday night, and he comes up to me, he goes, "I need you, Chucky." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "There's a bachelorette party out there." Well, no, there's not. He goes, "Yeah, there is. I swear to God on this story." And I said, "What do you want from me?" He goes, "Do it how you do it." I was like, "Okay, but do I get your permission to do it how I want to do it?" Okay. Like, he goes, "Yeah." He's all, "There's nobody really over on that side. So, just go have fun with it." So I get into the Chucky costume. First thing I'm thinking is, what loser has their bachelorette party at Chucky Cheese? All right. Like that's the first thing I'm thinking. Like, what the hell's that? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you go, well, that's actually kind of funny. And so
Yeah.
I get over there and there's 4 women and they're all dressed up. I mean, I've got like my big red shoe up on the booth. I mean, it's like Magic Mike 20 years before Magic Mike.
Wow.
And they're throwing me money and dollar bills and all that. So I do it for a little bit, a couple of songs. He's laughing his ass off. I get back, change out of the costume, and then when I'm in my regular Chuck E. Cheese costume, I go over there and I clean up their table because the thought of, oh, they don't even know it's me, and I'm going to sneak back over there. It was like, and so that was pretty funny. But I worked there for a few months. But man, I was a janitor, maintenance at Toys R Us, a busboy at TGI Fridays. I worked at a retirement home. I did landscaping. I did construction, telemarketing. Um, I've worked everywhere. So like all that's like that's also another reason why I appreciate the opportunities we have, because I know what real work is like, and what we do isn't real work.
Knowing all those things that you had to do just to make ends meet, when you got the phone call and that first opportunity to host at Fox Sports Radio, what were your emotions? What was your headspace like at that point?
I just it's not that I'd given up. I think because the way things went down in South Carolina, I just thought I was never going to get a chance again. And then when I got an opportunity at Fox Sports Radio, I told them, I said, I appreciate it. And I said I would do anything. And I remember Annie Zadarovich and Don Martin were the people that I met with.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't want to come in here and take anybody's job. Just if there was ever an opportunity, I'd love a chance to, at anything, I'll take
Sure.
anything. And so she called me up and just said, "You'll take anything, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "All right." She called me a week later and said, "We have an opportunity for a part-time weekend overnight editor." It's like, "I'll take it." She goes, "Okay, but you were on the air. So this is a bit," I was like, "I don't care. I'll take it."
Wow.
She goes, "Okay." And I told them, I was like, "I will never call in sick, and I won't turn down any work. I
Wow.
promise you guys." And to this day, I've never called in sick, and I don't turn down work. So that's why I always say yes, because I never forget how I felt when I got that opportunity, let alone getting to host, which was down the road, and so many other twists and turns. I mean, there was, I was working 3 jobs at one point to try and make it work, and, doing security at my brother's bar, and then working telemarketing and doing all these places. I mean, like, just the journey from South Carolina all the way out here was crazy. To even get that job was crazy, and just all the twists and turns. And so when I got the opportunity, and Scott Shapiro said, "Hey, do you want to, we have an opportunity, a fill-in opportunity to work the overnight. Are you interested?" And I don't even know if I spoke. I just remember I was really surprised,
Yeah.
because I just assumed, and I don't, maybe this is just how my mind works, but I never thought, okay, I've got this goal and that goal and that goal and that goal, and I got to get here, here, and here. I literally just took it. It's so cliche, one day at a time.
Yeah.
And I didn't focus on, if I don't get this, I'm a failure. If I don't do that, I'm this. If I just say yes to everything. What's worse? Say yes and try and get better. And maybe something will happen down the road if you just keep showing up and keep showing that you're willing to work. And one of my favorite adages is actually from a movie, from The Usual Suspects, where he says, to come into power or to get what you want, you don't need money or guns or even numbers. You just need the will to do what the other guy won't.
Yes.
And I remember, and it's a movie, and it was an okay movie with a great ending. And I just remember hearing that, and for whatever reason, it just resonated to me. And it was, okay, well, if somebody else is not willing to do that, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not willing? Okay, I'll do it. What's the worst gonna happen? I'm gonna either, it's the other one. You don't win or lose. You win or you learn.
Yes.
And so that's how I look at it. Wow. So I don't look at it as, oh my God, I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna go, okay, worst case scenario, I'm gonna try something, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna learn from it. And then if I ever get an opportunity again, I'll get better. And I just took that approach and just said, yeah, it may not be great, but I'm going to get better from it. And I always prefer to be thrown in the fire. So when I got that opportunity, it was crazy. And I didn't get nervous. I've never been nervous on the air. I just thought, okay, same approach, systematic, get in there and do what you got to do. And it's not going to be perfect, but try and get better if you ever get another opportunity. And I was lucky enough that I kept getting more opportunities, and I was fortunate. And Scott Shapiro's been tremendous for me as far as giving me those chances. And I always tell him, I appreciate what you do for me. Like I appreciate, Don and Andy. And I always told him, because I said, I don't know how other people feel about this, but I know what it's like to have it and then have it all gone. Yeah. And have it not be your fault. And I know what real struggle is like, because I've dealt with it majority of my life. So the fact that I have an opportunity to do something, it's like the people that listen on the overnights, the people that are driving trucks across the country, the people that are stocking up supermarket shelves, the people that are, working security someplace, man, that's hard work. That's a hard job. And that's sometimes you'll get people that are tossing papers in the middle of the night. They've got to do that because they got to make ends meet. Yeah. Like I know what that's like. And so I never take any of that stuff for granted. And I think the second that you do is the second that you lose touch with what's really coming at beyond the other side of the speakers. And when you do that, you're just not relatable. And I just try and be as relatable as possible. And I hope people get the sarcasm, and I hope they know that when I'm busting balls, it's legitimately busting balls. The show I do with Brady is 3 hours of us needling each other about little things that we've talked about in private phone calls. That's all it is. And so I hope that comes across.
Thomas in the 513, that's a Twitter account. He wanted to ask a question about your show with Brady. And he asked me to relate to you, why does Jonas always go first on headline or lie?
That's a good question. I think just because I'm running point, and so it's just easier than tossing it over to Brady to have to go. But maybe, I've been terrible at it. It's not really my fault. Just the people that call in are completely mangled. And we ask them to be, just don't curse on the air, but please be drunk. And so when they call in, yeah, maybe I should try that. Maybe that'll work, because I've been terrible at it lately. It's been awful.
Speaking of phone calls, you've taken some classic ones over the years, especially in the overnights. What's the most disturbing phone call that had the most entertaining aspect to it in the history of your radio career?
Ooh, I don't know that I can think of one, but I just remember some really interesting pairings, like in Headline or Lie. I think we had, or not Headline or Lie, in a Pro Wrestler or Porn Star.
Yeah.
We had 2 Mormons call in, which was just awesome, because like just the idea that we could get 2 people of the same faith
to
sin at the same time on sport. Like that really felt like that was an accomplishment. Like that's
Yeah.
one where I go, oh, you know what? That's all right. I mean, keep the Marconi. I got two
Yeah.
Mormon people to play pro wrestling or porn star. So that one stands out. And I mean, and Christ, you see a lot of the tweets that come through. I mean, those are hysterical. Some of the stuff people say, and I don't. And people there's some people at Fox that thinks that they're my burner accounts, and I'm thinking, man, I barely tweet myself. Like I'm not gonna go set up some burner accounts and some fake accounts to call me homophobic slurs. Like this is just whoever it is. I think it's like one or two people that have a bunch of accounts and they don't like me at all, and they know that I'm going to retweet them. I say, okay, that's fine. I'll retweet them. Like I just don't get offended by stuff like that. My thought on when it comes to like Twitter and some of the negative feedback.
Yeah.
Look, part of like what we do is that we are critical of professional athletes who can do something that we can't.
Sure.
Okay. Fundamentally, that's weird. All right. That's just weird. Like, I don't, I don't, I wouldn't stand over a surgeon's shoulder and go, you call that a heart procedure? Oh my God. I just wouldn't do that. But that's part of what we do. So I've always found that comical, and I always make light of it and make fun of it because just something about that seems odd to me. It just doesn't seem like it makes sense. So the idea that we can do that, but people aren't allowed to be critical of us, and if they are, we block them. We have a block party, and or we report them to social media. Man, I've never blocked anybody. Let it fly. Call me whatever name you want to call. Who cares? I've had people make fun of my mom, who's the most important thing in my life, the thing most nearest and dearest to my life. I had a guy send me a tweet one time. I remember this.
Yeah.
This is probably the most noteworthy. I had a guy send me a tweet one time in which he said something along the lines of, I can't wait for your mom to die, or I can't wait for your mom to die real soon. And I don't remember what the subject matter was. And I wrote him back and I just said, you all right, man? And I didn't hear back from him. And so the next morning I got a tweet from him. Oh, wow. And he said, hey, I just wanted to tell you that I really, really apologize for what I said. That was totally out of line, and I'm embarrassed. I was drinking too much last night. And I wrote him back and I said, hey man, it's all good. I figured that's what happened. I know the time slot I'm in. I get it. And I just told him, I said, if I were you, I would delete that, because you wouldn't want a potential future employer or maybe somebody you meet to see that one tweet and think that represents who you are because you had a bad moment. Well, that's not fair. And he deleted the tweet, and I never heard back from him. But I look at that as an opportunity not to, oh, what a terrible person, and I'm so upset by it. It's like, hey,
wow,
if you do something like that, and I know the time slot, I know the people are going to be drinking, I see stuff like that, and I just tell them, hey, I probably would delete that, because that's not a good look to tell, somebody's, mom who's older and maybe struggling that you hope that she passes away. Like, that's not a good look. And so if you can do something about that, if you can avoid that, you should avoid it. I could have a block party and expose them and try and do that's not what I want. I get nothing from that. And if anything, if you can help, my favorite thing is to try and help people. And if that helps somebody, or, then that's fine. Not that anything I'm doing is special or anything like that. I just think people have weak moments. Yeah. And instead of hammering them for their weak moments, why not try and help them through that, so that the next time, like I said, you either win or you learn. There's no losing, and you just move forward. That's the way I look at it.
Wow. That's super powerful, because I would think that most would, like you pointed out, maybe act in rage or get defensive.
Of course.
And you see through that, where in the fact that you don't take it personally. That's the hardest thing, I think, for me, Jonas, sometimes. It's like we get these trolls and like, yeah, they're going to be out there at all times, but where do you get to a point in mentally where you realize that this is just part of the game and that you can't please everybody and that there's just going to be people out there who are just going to want to bust your balls no matter what? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's, and it's a good point. I don't see someone's criticism. And look, sometimes the criticism of me is fair. If I misspeak or, if I say something incorrectly on the air and somebody calls me out for it, good point. Like, because sometimes you don't even, like, this from, like, we talk for a living. And sometimes when you're getting information out, you can slip up and say the wrong name or the wrong word or something like that. It happens. I remember doing updates at Fox and, I said Brett Favre instead of Aaron Rodgers. And it's like, well, and I got called out for it. And it's funny, and this.
Yeah, it happens all
the time. They'll never hit you up and say, hey man, great update.
Yes.
But the second you say, the Brewers beat the Twins 4-3 and it was 5-3. Oh my God. It's like, oh boy, like, there he goes. We got to get him, everybody. I look at it, the feedback and sort of the negativity and the trolls, if that's what they call them. I think that just comes with the territory. I never take offense to it. I look at it more of that person's hurting. Yeah. They're not in a good place. When I grew up listening to sports talk radio, and I was completely blown away by the idea of being able to talk sports. And I can remember listening to Extra Sports 690, listening to Steve Hartman and the Loose Cannons back in the day, listening to Jim Rome, listening to Tony Bruno, Mike North in Chicago, Arnie Spanier on Sporting News, Petros Papadakis was on Sporting News as well too, Sporting News Radio 1540. Like, listening to all those guys, even if they said something I didn't agree with, never one time did I think, oh, well, let me go ahead and call them an effing idiot in an email and then tell them that I hope somebody in their family passes away. I don't understand. So the fact that I didn't think like that just tells me, well, there's something going on with that person. Yeah. There's something going on with, and I think a larger problem of social media is, I think that it creates, and I'm not a doctor, but I think that social media creates depression, because I think that it creates a facade. Because all social media is, like Instagram, all it is your highlight video.
That's right.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's your highlight video. It's, oh my God, look at all my moments. Look at all this and look at all that. Okay. Let's see the ones on your camera roll that you didn't post because you didn't look good in that picture. Why don't we see those? We never will, because these are your highlight films. Like this is your highlight video. This is your tape, your highlight. This is like your huddle tape. For totally. Young football players, they're putting together their huddle tape.
Yeah.
And so I think what that does is, if you're somebody who is in a rut, or you're less fortunate, or you're struggling and you're in a really tough spot, and you go on to Instagram or Facebook and you see somebody out there living it up and showing their highlight tape and flaunting how well things are going for them, even if it's all a facade, even if it's all BS, and majority of it is, I think that creates an insecurity and a sense of, I'm not good enough because I don't have what they have. And I think that's a problem. And so it's why I hardly post anything, because I don't want to celebrate. My wife and I had a big moment for us about 2 months ago. Like, we had a big moment, something very important in our life.
Sure.
And one of her close friends posted about it on social media, and I asked her to take it down. And I said, there's a lot going on. I don't think it's right for us to sit here and try and brag about a moment for us when there are so few people that are having good moments right now. I don't think that's right. And so I look at somebody who's angry or upset as a product of, when you go on and things are tough for you, and all you keep hearing about is how great this is and how awesome this is and how I've got this and I've got that and here's another video and here's another IG movie or snap face or whatever they call it. Like when you see all that crap, I just think it creates a sense of insecurity and sort of a, well, am I good enough?
Yeah.
And what that does is that can turn into anger and somebody taking out on something else. So back to the original point, somebody is attacking me on social media. I don't know that it's as much something that I did. And it may well be. And if they do, then that's fine, as opposed to they got something else going on. And you never know who's dealing with what. And it probably shouldn't judge somebody based off that one moment and a few words on Twitter, even though they're classless and I would never do it. I try to take a different approach and try and take a different look at it.
Yeah.
But
Jonas Knox with us, wrapping it up here. So grateful for your time. And I know you've
oh,
used.
thank you. Listen, Fenley, you do an awesome job. I can't believe you even asked me to come on here. Why the hell would you want me to come on here? Like, this is going to be the lowest rated show you've ever done. Congratulations. Your ratings are in the tank now because you had me on here. That's your problem.
Jonas, if you only knew how powerful your fan base is. Silent majority. They are big fans. And
I appreciate it, but I don't, again, I that whole thing weirds me out. The idea that there are I don't know. I'm really uncomfortable with that. Really uncomfortable with it.
Oh, I know that you use humor to, humor is a nice medicine, I would think, to handle and deal with some of these challenges. And, I love how you inject that level of humility into what you do. I find your story very inspiring, from your dedication to seeing what you want to happen in your life take place, from believing in yourself when perhaps people around you, even in the business, might have told you no and no and no, and you said yes, yes, yes. And like you said earlier, you always say yes because you never know where that's going to lead you to. And despite all of the different obstacles and adversity, I applaud you, man. And I applaud you. Like on a much smaller level, I was literally about to give up. This was about 2 years ago, and I was about to give up. I was working in Memphis at like a little local TV station, and I wanted to come home, and everywhere I went, I got a no. Every single place I got a no. And I was really, grateful to meet, Dan and just shake hands with them and all this stuff, at Fox. And the second I thought I was literally going to just like maybe be like a waiter, I don't know, just do something, and I was literally depressed and down. That moment where I was at my lowest, literally in the business, and I thought, this is it. I'm giving up. This is it. Dan emails me and says, we might have an opportunity for you to do some fill-in work. And it's
amazing.
It's amazing, Jonas, and maybe you've had this as well. The moments in my life where I've been the most down about where I'm dead ending, I'm going nowhere. There's like some little life preserver that kind of comes.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. And I don't know, I guess I'm a spiritual person, and, I resonate a lot with, how you take care of your mom, because, I had to take care of my dad when I was a kid. And then he unfortunately, he passed away from just a hellacious 5 years of cancer, which basically gutted any sort of childhood I ever had. And I'm forever just scarred mentally from that. And, any social interactions for me, I never really got to have as much as a kid, and in years and years and years of therapy. But I just look at you, Jonas, and I just see somebody who I can look up to and say, man, if Jonas can do it, then never give up. Never give up. And the fact that you've gotten to where you've gotten to, and you've done it in such a humble way with I love the sarcasm as well, is just a testament to you. And I know you don't like praise, and I know you don't like flattery, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your, but I just honestly, from a very real, authentic side of me, I just appreciate you. And I thank you again for coming on and doing this. And yeah.
Listen, well, first of all, I didn't know that about your dad, so my condolences to you. And yeah, I know it was a while ago, but hey, man, I've had deaths in my family. I know how that goes, and you're never the same. It's one of those things that you don't know final until someone you love, someone close to you passes away.
Yeah.
That's final. Like, that whole, well, we'll live to fight another day. Man, not this time.
Yeah.
Like that's the hard part about that. So my condolences to you. And what's the old Thomas Edison quote? Many of life's failures are people who didn't know how close they were to success before they gave up.
That's right.
And I, like, when you talked about that call you got from Dan, like, that gives me chills, because I remember getting a call from Dan saying, hey, we're going to be doing weekend overnight updates. Would you be interested in possibly doing that? And I just remember thinking, I was so excited and so appreciative. And it was one shift, and it was graveyards, and it was bye-bye social life. And I just remember the first thing I thought of was, oh man, like, I don't have to do telemarketing anymore on the side. Because now I couldn't do it, because just with the way the schedule was and all that. And I just remember being so grateful and excited. And I know, man, I remember going out to meet with a program director, and I won't say the name of the program director, but I remember going out to meet with him, going to his studio, sitting in the lobby, waiting for them to come down. And the woman at the front desk came over to me. I waited about 45 minutes. Wow. And keep in mind, this was like a 5-hour flight I took to get out there.
Oh, wow.
On my own money, my own dime. And she came over to me and said, he's caught up in meetings right now, so he can't meet right now. And I said, okay, well, is it cool if I come back tomorrow? Because I'm in town, obviously, but I understand if he got busy. And she said, yeah, that's fine. Came back the very next day, and the guy told me, or waited another 45 to 50 minutes in the lobby. And she came over to me, and she had this look on her face, and she just said, he said he can't come down because he's up at the holiday party right now. And I remember saying to her, are you kidding me? And she goes, I'm really sorry. And I said, I flew all the way out here from California on my own dime to meet 2 days in a row. She said, I'm really sorry. And I remember I walked out of that studio, and it was like the air left my body. And I remember it was like a fork in the road. And it was like, am I done with this? Because I can't handle that type of disrespect. Yeah. Or am I going to rage against that disrespect and figure out a way to do this? Yeah. And I just made that decision. And I said, if I ever run into that guy who's still in the business, and I never have yet, I'm going to have a conversation with him. Yeah. And I'm going to make him remember. And I just think that's what this is all about. Make him remember you. Yeah. All right. Just have a good enough positive impact and make them remember you. And that's the way I looked at it. And I took that, and there were other times I got knocked on my ass, but I swear to God, Fenley, and you probably can relate to this, never one time did I ever really get to the point I thought, God, is this worth it? God, I'm just going to give up. But there was something guiding me. I think everybody's got like an inner compass that just guides them. And there was something about it. I just said, just keep swinging the axe, so to speak, keep swinging it. Just something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And like you said, you do it long enough, good things are going to happen. Do it the right way. Be kind to people. And that's why we ever get interns or anybody like that, I always say, hey, if I can help, please, let me help. I don't want you to go through what I went through, because there's a lot of terrible people out there that are inconsiderate and couldn't care less about your struggles and what you're going through. They're worried about their bottom line and what's good for them. And the fact that you got to where you are, that's not so much a lucky break as it is you were too good to not get there. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are too good to not get to where they want to go. They just need some help. And I think more and more people got to help out.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And if you don't have like that support system or somebody who, despite being tripped up on the way to what you want to do, just saying, hey, Jonas, keep pushing. It's going to happen for you. It's going to open up. And like, for me, it was my mom, and maybe it's for your mom as well, where it's just like, don't give up. You know, you need somebody to just be there when you start wavering mentally, where they just say, keep going. This is eventually going to lead to some good stuff. Jonas Knox, this was an absolute pleasure. And I wanted to end on a more silly note, because I've got one quick question here. And Marvin Grove checks in, Marvin Grove on Twitter. And he wanted me to ask you, do they make a live Bet Jesus blow up doll?
I mean, listen, I don't know anything about Live Bet Jesus. People have accused me, Fenley, of being Live Bet Jesus.
Okay.
And listen, I'm not here to confirm nor deny any of that. For whatever reason, he has chosen me to speak for him on certain matters. And I'll just say this. If there was a time to invest in a Live Bet Jesus blow up doll, now would be the time, because he has won his last 3 bets in the NHL. Over-unders in the NHL, he's won his last 3. He's looking to make it 4 in a row on Sunday night. I'm just saying. So if there was ever going to be possibly a Live Bet Jesus blow-up doll, that was something that was going to be created, I think now probably would be the time, because I don't know that his stock has ever been higher, to be truthful with you. Yeah, but again, I don't know him. I'm not him, and I don't know him. I'm just simply, that's my guess.
That's your guess. A good guess, an educated guess, a guess that I think I should be buying some stock in that as well. Jonas Knox, an absolute pleasure. We'll hear you on the airwaves every single day on Fox Sports Radio. I'm Bryan Fenley, and thanks again so much for sharing your story and just being just so open and upfront about what you've been through and how you've been able to overcome so much.
You're the best, man. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.